All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Myokinetix podcast. Today I have a really good friend, Mike Feeks, from the gym in Englewood. I mean, Mike is probably one of the biggest guys at that gym, and we kind of bond over.
That's not saying much, though, is it?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's a good thing. Bond over how he has 2 phones that he needs to use during his workout. But no, Mike is an overall great guy. Actually, I think the first conversation we talked about was how you pivot your personal training business during COVID and how you were able to still continue to serve your clients. And I think I was like, you know what, let's have you on, man, just to kind of share your wealth of knowledge, especially in fitness. So, hey, Mike, welcome to the show, dude.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah.
First one, at least in this room, right?
Yes, first one in our first studios. You guys see, we upgrade. This is 2023.
That's
you
right.
know, cue Beyonce upgrade you
here.
song. So let's tell the listener a little bit about you.
What do you want to know?
Just like from the background, how you got into fitness.
My name's Michael Feeks. I like long walks on the beach.
Yes, there you go.
It was actually my cousin that got me into it. My cousin, Arnold Villar, was a personal trainer. He was working at Fort Lee, New York Sports Club. And I'll never forget, I was in 8th grade, and I was playing basketball at that time. And he came over the house with a deck of cards. And he was like, hey, we're going to do push-ups this entire deck. I'm
Okay.
like, all right, 2 to 10 is self-explanatory. Jack is 11, Queen is 12, King is 13, Ace is 14. 2 Joker cards were 20. Mm-hmm. And we went back and forth between the whole deck. It had to have taken me like an hour and a half to do. Mm-hmm. And I was so sore the next day that I actually had scouts coming to watch us play. So when I
you got like T-Rex arm.
I was throwing bricks.
Yeah.
I had to have scored maybe like 2 points. But, God always has a plan, man. And I think that was the start of it, to where I was so enveloped in it that I had to know, like, why do I feel this way and why do I want more? Mm-hmm. And then when I turned 16, I just got my permit, and the family was doing a trip to Florida. And he sat next to me in the car, and I drove about 16 hours of the way. Mm-hmm. And he was like, hey, you want to learn the anatomy of the body? I'm like, sure. And from the entire ride, just went off, just teed off on it. And
wow.
I soaked it all up, and I was like, I can't wait to learn more. And then from that point, he took me under his wing, kind of guided me, which was a huge help because, some stuff that they don't teach you in school, especially like the experience portion of it, he really nitpicked on all those. And from there, I started working at Excel Orthopedic and got the other side of it, the physical therapy side of it. And I wanted to delve into that and possibly go to college for that, which was supposed to be for Quinnipiac. Mm-hmm. But when I found out what the price was per year, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll take a different route in personal training. And then ever since I did that, got my cert when I was 18, and I never looked back.
Wow.
And it's been a pretty wonderful and high and low experience with it.
That's pretty crazy, man, how like someone just show up and be like, hey, here's a deck of cards. Like, we're not going to gamble, but we're just going to do push-up. I wonder, was that part of his plan? He's like, this kid has so much more potential.
Arnold's always scheming, man. He's the definition of planning. Always plans everything ahead of time, and he definitely had an idea of what he wanted to do. I think part of it was wanting to torture me. He's
like, I need to recap my anatomy. Well, let's just drive to Florida. I mean, it worked out. I mean, it's great. I think people are putting in your life for a reason, right? To guide you in a different direction that you might not have known or otherwise even be interested in doing so. So, I mean, I have similar background, obviously. Do you work in New York Sport Club?
No, never did.
Wow.
The first actual gym I worked at was Signature Fitness in Belleville.
Okay.
Before that, once I got my cert, I was just doing in-homes.
Oh.
And that was more my niche. And then, on the side of that, I was also working at Excel. Mm-hmm. Started off in Fort Lee, and then they opened another facility in Hackensack, so I started working there. Mm-hmm. And then around the same time, I was also DJing. So I had quite the schedule.
What's the DJ name?
DJ Flash was the name. Quick on the ones and twos.
Yeah. At the local bar mitzvah or Sweet 16.
They always pay.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. Yep.
Dude,
mitzvahs, weddings.
That's great. I mean, all in all, it's a service-based business, right? It's people-driven.
Yep.
So you have to give the people what they want.
Yep.
All the time. I did a post probably like a month ago about jobs that I did when I was in high school and doing PT school to help me, grow my skill set as a person and as a PT now. And I always going back to being a personal trainer. So can we talk about the impact that doing, the cert and becoming a personal trainer had on you, as far as like your self-growth?
Right. I mean, it's almost in a sense like a huge responsibility that you have on taking care of somebody. Like you said, the service business. I remember when I was 14, 15 years old, illegally, I started working as a recreational aide. And that was almost like the first hands-on experience that you had with taking care of somebody.
Yeah.
And I guess, again, that tailored into everything that I did as in life, always taking care of somebody. And of course, being Filipino, your entire family wants you to be a nurse. So instead of that direction, I took this one. First starting off, it wasn't really much back then. It was just more so like a side job, or it wasn't looked at as something as an actual career path.
Yeah, there's no such thing as fitness professional.
Exactly.
Fits pro, right?
Yeah, and I remember I always went back and forth with my mother, just clashing heads because she wanted me to take the nursing route. That was the easier route. You could definitely get you get a great salary. You can definitely get a job right away. And for some reason, I stuck to my guns on this. I said, one day this is going to be huge. It's going to be all over, and you'll see. And because I stuck to that and I knew what my path was, I trusted it. And thank God that I did, and thank God that I had different peers that have been in the business ahead of me to teach me that experience. And I'll never look back. It's also a field that you can continue to grow and always learn more. And, for me, it's always about surrounding yourself with people that are better than you in a sense. And that's something that I always did. I always looked up to different mentors and peers. And it's been a fantastic ride.
Yeah. So just based on that, dude, like having mentor is so big, especially in the field that, again, like you said, you have to keep growing, right? And as a professional, but also as an individual. Obviously, you had a love for fitness before you became a fitness professional. So, like, ever since you did that push-up thing with the whole Dix-Up card, how did that change your perspective of training and working out? And, you even got into bodybuilding as well, so I want you to expand on that.
Right. Well, prior to this, my brother was always the athlete. He was, played basketball, every sport, everything that he touched, he was able to perform really well at a high level right away. I was more so like the nerd, like to read books. And I remember one time that I'm reading a Goosebumps book, and my brother's out playing somewhere, and my mom just storms into the living room. She's like, "If you don't go outside right now, I'm gonna ground you." I'm like, I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, what the? And she kind of like forced me into certain sports, and I did it, but I wasn't really huge into it. I just did it just for the activity portion of it. And although that was fun, that wasn't my niche. And I remember we had a basketball coach who was just like extremely harsh on us in high school, and that almost forced me to quit. It did force me to quit, but for good reasons. And from there, for some reason, I just had this mindset of, okay, I don't want to rely on anybody else to tell me what to do. I want to do this on my own. So from that, my cousin got me into triathlons, marathons. A couple of years ago, I did stand-up paddleboard race around Manhattan. It was a 26.2 mile.
Nice.
I did that with my buddy, Ray Dente. You might see him often on my page on Instagram. And then I just knew that training was going to be a part of my life this entire time. And I was so fascinated with not just strength, but with functional movement and everything that you entail together that, you have to abide by this as a lifestyle in order to see some credit and see something produce of it. When you train, you're not seeing any instant gratification on it. So I think when you do train, you strength train, you lift heavy, and it almost tests your patience with it to where you're not getting immediate results, but you will eventually. And you find a lot of people have a problem with being patient with their results.
Yeah.
And, not enough people put in the consistency and time for it. So it's also a mind game that it plays with you. And I find it interesting.
No, and it's such a good lesson, dude. I always go back to the gym. I think every life lesson, every business principle, I always go back to what I've learned in the gym. And I to me, it's probably the first life teacher that I'd say I would have, right? It's all about showing up.
Right.
Like the newbie gains will run dry. And then you're like, well, I can't just bench every day and get stronger anymore.
Yep.
I actually have to like strategize. Oh wait, if I do the same thing over and over again and I get hurt, I should do something else. Like it's just again, just like
pain is weakness leaving the body, right?
Yeah.
You just gotta push through
it. It's so different, man. Just the fact that you have to show up every single day. Like this morning we got up 5:45. I'm like, all right. Like my wife and I was like, let's just roll out of bed and like brush our teeth. Let's go to the gym. Like, and that's just showing up.
Right.
And it sucks when you show up because the first 15 minutes you're just like lollygagging a little bit.
Right.
You're trying to find your groove. And then like after 20 minutes in, you're into it.
Right.
And then the next 40 minutes, it's just hard training session. But then it was the best 40 minutes. And then next thing you know, it's 7:30, day's made.
Yeah. Yeah. After a workout, you never say, I regret that. I wish I never did that workout.
I mean, there's times where like, oh man, that was
well,
not
I mean, if
good.
you were hurt, you know, that's a different story.
That was not good. But majority of the things I did with working out, I think you and I have different paths to fitness. Like obviously, we all started bodybuilding and somehow. I had started because I was watching wrestling. Everyone's jacked. So I was like, all right, well, I'm a little chubby. I should go work out. I remember showing my dad like doing my first push-up. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And he's like, oh, can you do more? I was like, no. So I was like, all right, now I got to do more, right?
Leave it to dad.
And then we got to the point where like all my friends would just come at my parents' apartment, watch Pumping Iron, Take No Explode together, go to the YMCA,
oh, man, the good
do
stuff.
arms. Yeah, dude, the first scoop, No Explode, no better feelings.
When pre-workout first came out, man. It was intense. Dude.
Game changer.
Oh,
you're like
goodness.
16 years old. You're like, what is this feeling?
Yeah. The first NO Explode was going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then you hit the gym.
No, so we would do that. It was like a good 2 hours where everyone just like comes together. And again, like I play sport then and there, but I just ended up just leaving sport to just work, right? So the only outlet I had was just the gym. And that's how we kind of got together. It's either going to the gym or doing LAN parties. This is how like nerdy, like you know what it is. LAN parties, you bring your computer to your friend's house and you play video games together.
Yeah.
For the
Dude,
whole
I was
weekend.
playing Counter-Strike.
Yeah, me too. There you go.
Yep. Dude, I would go to Fort Lee. It was $1 an hour. Me and like 15 other buddies till like 3 o'clock in the morning just playing Counter-Strike.
We used to go to X Zone,
Where was that?
Palisade Mall.
No, never been.
Oh yeah, it's a LAN center. You pay for the whole day. I mean, it was so bad. Like you sit all day, you play Counter-Strike, eat McChicken, and then you wonder why you're so chubby.
What really got me into the gym the first time was I had finished the Richmond, Virginia Marathon when I was 19.
Oh wow.
I was one of the youngest ones there. It took me 4 hours to the T. I remember when I just finished, before that, I just finished a triathlon. It was Wyckoff in New Jersey. And I was also doing Muay Thai at the same time. And I remember my cousin comes to me. He's like, hey, I got a surprise for you. I'm like, oh, what's up? He's like, I just signed you up for the marathon. It's 8 weeks away. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. So I had lost about like 15 pounds for it. And then I remember the girl that I was dating at the time, I'm at her place, and I'm looking in the fridge, and I have a tank top on. And she's just in the corner just staring at me. And I look at her. I'm like, what? She's like, you got skinny, and just walks away. From there, dude, I was in the gym the next day. 13 chest exercises later, I was ruined.
Yeah.
And then from there, that's what kind of really tailored me into training. But, you know, of course, when you first start off, you think you could just lift everything and do every single exercise without having the true knowledge and science behind it, which is why now that I train with Dave Kalari, RPM Nutrition, man, that guy's a wizard, man. He's a genius. He knows what he's doing. And ever since I've started training with him, he makes me feel like I know nothing on training anymore. You know, you always have somebody ahead of you that always humbles you.
No, dude, Dave literally like took me under his wing when I first started because I was just doing bullshit workout. And then with Dave, I met him in New York Sport Club. So I used to work in New York Sport Club for the kids club doing birthday parties.
Gotcha.
And I would use the free membership just to lift. Dude, I would do no legs whatsoever. I was like, I don't need to do it. No one cares. And I see just Dave just like, he would do crazy leg workout and they all would throw up. And I looked, I was like, I'm never going to do that. Why would I do that?
Why would I go that hard?
Yeah. But then like he'll slowly just ease me in. And then like one day I remember he just asked me like, why don't you just do leg with us? Dude, it was the worst. It was terrible.
Leg day is initiation phase.
Yeah. But then like fast forward, like getting to weightlifting, I would squat like every other day. Like now, like leg is my favorite. I do it twice a week just because, you know, you set the tone at some point. And it's good to have someone like that, right? What I look forward to when I first started out with the gym or in any business that I find someone that a couple step ahead of me,
Right.
and I say, hey, could I work with you? Could you help me out with that? And Dave did that for me.
Right.
And, I say, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be into fitness as much. And if I wasn't into fitness, I wouldn't even be a therapist in some way.
Wow. Well, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So he was a big part of the reason you went into.
I know Dave for like almost 20 years, dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You guys are like besties.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen him at New York Sport Club, so we have really good relationship. But even from that, like, just becoming a personal trainer, have someone to model after.
Right.
He does a really good job at and when someone's a good trainer, their clients stay with them longer.
Yep.
And it's not just from the personal end, because I've seen people who has good clients that stay with them, but they don't get result.
Correct.
So I'm just like, I don't want to be those. Like, they just pretty much therapists in some way.
Right.
Where people just want to talk to and then just like say that they do a workout. I actually want to be the trainer to get the result that people like to work with, right?
Correct.
So you're one of those trainers, and I've seen it. So can we talk about your career development as a professional, how you differentiate yourself, not from the peers, but really we all see the standard. How do you stay above the norm all the time?
For that, I mean, experience comes along with that. And of course, like retention is created by personalities primarily. And the workout on top of that is like the icing on the cake. But of course, you have to know what you're doing. And I think it's a matter of just assessing a person on what their needs are for whatever they're doing. You mainly train in the gym to perform better for what you do outside of there, whether that's for a sport, whether that's for your lifestyle, or anything that you do. And I think it's a matter of asking the questions to the client, why? What are you doing this for? What's your why? And when you're able to find out your why, the how becomes easy. And just based off of the knowledge that you develop over the years, you're able to create that program for that person. That's why it's personal training. Not everybody can do the same thing. And I've learned that a lot of my clients I've been with for 5 years, 10 years plus, to where their style of training had to slightly change. But the one thing that's always involved, of course, is mobility and strength. Those are the two biggest things that I concentrate on, and also core. But and working at Excel as a PT aide, that really opened my mind to injury. And a lot of people will stay away and not train a specific body part because they're injured. I know at the beginning, of course, inflammation and stuff like that, you gotta wait, but you gotta train it. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people lack, is they're afraid to train that body part because of a prior injury.
Yeah.
And there's a way that
Yeah. But listen, man, I love that you talk about like getting to the why, right? We do the same thing here in the clinic. And I think you have to get to a deeper why. It's not just a superficial why. Because people would tell you, I just want to lose 15 pounds.
Right.
Then you ask them, why is that important to you? Oh, because I want to do X, Y, and Z. Well, why is that important to you?
Right.
Once you go really, really deep, I think it's all coming down to like people just want to feel worthy. At some point, they want to be recognized. They want to be acknowledged.
Right.
They want to feel significant. I think that's what really people are doing it for.
Yeah,
you
there's
know?
always a vanity portion
Of
of it,
course.
but yeah, deep down inside, it's deeper rooted, and you got to really try to pull that out of somebody. And that might not come at the beginning, but over time, you really start to learn about somebody. And the thing I love about in-home training is it brings a different aspect. Now you're in the comfort of their own home, which they're more likely to open up, and you see the dynamic of what happens in the house, and it's different because someone could put on a suit and then walk into the gym.
Yeah.
You have a different perspective of them. But when you're there with the kids and the dog and everything else that they have to do during that time, it's interesting, and especially during COVID.
Yeah. And you get to see their snacks. I'm like, this is why you're not losing weight.
Like, oh, that's just for the kids.
Yeah. No, I think that's important, man, just getting to the why. And how was it? I mean, your path to being a personal trainer was different, because most people I know would work at a big box gym first, then go into in-home. You started in-home. So, like, did you have any, like, imposter syndrome starting off, especially going to someone's house?
Yeah, it's always nerve-wracking, but of course, when you start off an in-home, the profit is 100% versus having to, go to a gym and have half of your money taken away from you. If it's 50-50, I technically worked free for half of the year. But then again, it's a business. You're using your business within a business, which I can understand. But I always loved the in-home. I always gravitated more towards that. And I was always against working at a gym. For some reason, I had a negative feeling on it until I finally worked at Signature Fitness. And of course, that expands you to different people. And, that's how I developed my relationship with who's like a mentor and a brother and like a father figure to me is Ray. And, I'm grateful for it all. I'm grateful for every single experience. I'm grateful for every high, every low. It's all a learning curve.
Yeah. I mean, even in PTs, they have the same model, right? I mean, PT and fitness is so close together. And so some people, they can't tell us apart, right? Especially what we do here. We're movement driven. We do all these things. And, Dave and I always talk about this of like having, like, when is it appropriate to do personal training? When is it appropriate to do PT? And my answer was like, well, it's depend on the discussion between the trainer and the therapist.
Correct.
Right? If you have a good relationship enough, you can have a good discussion. They should be able to do both at the same time. Right? Because, and again, coming from the fitness background, like I know how to get people stronger, this and that. But what I really enjoy, my zone of genius now, is in physical therapy. So I'd rather address the pain point and then have someone like you take over and then build from that. Like, I'd rather be the one helping you build the foundation for the clients. So that way, if the foundation is bigger, now the peak can be a lot higher.
Correct. It only works hand in hand. Some PTs some physical therapists that I work with, my one sole question is, what can I not do? And then you can create something from there. But working at Excel really helped me expand my knowledge on, what to look out for. And, if it's something that I don't know, I'll just tell them, this is out of my jurisdiction. You have to go see a PT.
Yeah, and I think that speaks volume on your integrity and who you are, right? Because there are other people, especially someone who's probably new in the field, in any field, where they have that scarcity mindset, where they say, no, I can solve all your problems.
Right.
In reality, you're just doing people a disservice by trying to say that you can solve all their problems.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know everything. I might know a lot, but I don't know everything. And it's only helpful to, I think everybody should see a physical therapist. Even some people, even for myself, if there's something that's off, I might get like a monthly checkup just to see what's going on with my body, if there's anything I need to fix or correct. And of course, an injury can be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
To where it really hones you in on how to fix it, how to correct that, and how to move forward and progress and to be better and make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and I think it's a warning sign.
Yeah.
Right? It's a check engine light. Hey, something's off. It's pain signal. I always say, like, people need to have a better relationship with their pain, because pain is a telltale sign that something's not working correctly.
Right.
Rather, we live in such a society where, again, pain is commercialized being so bad that all we have to do is get rid of it as soon as possible. And what you do is you take some sort of drug, some sort of medicine, some sort of injection to shut down a pain pathway so you don't feel any pain, but really you don't address anything.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
All pharmaceutical drugs, does anything cure 100% of the ailment? No. And one thing that my wife, she's incredible, man. She's so bright. She's so smart. She's integrative nutrition certified. And ever since she delved into that, really learning like the holistic background of like Western medicine and just food on what it does to the body, it's almost astounding to where it lifts this filter off of you to where like, oh my goodness, everything that I've been taught is wrong. And it's just incredible how you can cure so much with things that are just natural. It might take a little longer, but it's worth it in the long run versus, taking a pill and just putting a Band-Aid over it. Yeah.
And I think it started in a medical field, right? Where rather than going the longevity route of like eat better, sleep better, stress management, right? To, hey, mass produce this pill, solve this problem real quick. I would say sometimes there's a lot of overdiagnosis in certain things, and like just to put a label on it so that way you can give the appropriate medicine for it. And in the fitness world, the way I see it is, I think that's where almost like weight loss pill coming in, but also like plastic surgery, right?
Because it's huge now.
Yeah. Can we talk more about that?
Oh my! Are you talking like all the BBLs and all that?
All of that stuff.
Oh my goodness, it drives me through a wall to see it all. It's just Yeah. What is that for? Again, when you delve into
It's
the
a
why,
vanity,
yeah,
right?
And it's all vanity, especially when you see them. They're lifting, 5 pounds, and then they're doing like a shoulder press with 5 pounds, and then all of a sudden they're taking a booty shot. It's like, what is this for? And you're promoting the wrong thing. And that's another thing, especially on social media, is you do have your stars out there, but at the same time, there's so much fluff out there that it's hard to sift through it. And we're in a world of so much information that most people, they'll click on one thing, they'll look at the first research page, and they're like, oh, that's it, rather than doing your own due diligence and finding out the truth behind it, that you're just willing to accept whatever it is.
Yeah. So what are some advice you would give someone who obviously looking to get started in their fitness journey and they're clearly confused by all their knowledge and everything out there? Like what are some advice you can give them, like top 3 that like it's been try and true principles?
Right. 1, seek a professional.
There you go.
For sure. Seek a professional. Find out who's in your area or anybody that you can research, whether online, to see what they're doing. Find any trainer out there or whoever it is, PT, and do some research on that. Another is don't quit. Just see it through. Stay consistent. Stay dedicated, even when you don't want to do it. That doesn't mean, waking up, I just don't feel like it's a rainy day. No, you go. You get it done. If it's an injury, then, of course, you have to assess it. And number 3, oh, man, there's so many out there.
That's why I only say 3. People can take 3.
Number 3. Let's see. That's a good one. I'd say find out your why. Find out what your why is. And when you discover that, everything else will start to begin to open.
Yeah. And I love that, just because what you said, like going back to the why, is that if your reason is strictly only vanity, right? Your why is not going to be that deep, and therefore you're going to be more inclined to go the surgical route.
Right.
But, with those surgical routes, there's a lot of complication that could happen with that. And it's not a long-term thing.
Right.
If anything, it's a rabbit hole that you're digging even deeper and deeper, because it's a trend, right? You're chasing a trend until that trend is no longer popular. Now you're chasing another trend. Whereas if you are working out, again, it's vanity, but you have to get some health and wellness involved into that. Like you want to live a long life and a healthy life, right? So, might not, like, to me, like, you work out is an hour of the time that you can dedicate to yourself to push through like some really hard challenge that you actually place upon yourself, which is great. It's the only time in life where you put the constraint on yourself, where usually in life, constraint are placed upon you and you just have to find your way out.
Right.
I think it's a really good, it's a good ownership of taking care of like your own body.
Right.
Right.
I think it involves, it's physical, it's mental, and it's spiritual. If you can combine all those and not focus too much on the physical aspect of it, if you're just, I find it funny that people have such a hard time just doing the right thing. Like when did doing the right thing become so difficult for people to do that they tend to find excuses to do it? When you can, of course, again, like we mentioned, there's a small portion of vanity, but when you can delve into it from a deeper level, for me, spiritually, I want to make sure my body, this is the body that God gave me. This is my temple, and he asks me to take care of it. So if I focus on that, everything that he asks me to do, it's just going to come along with it. The icing on the cake is you have the great body, but you don't think of it in that aspect because I'm not worried about that. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do to get from A to B. And I think that for me is what's really worked, especially at the beginning when I first started with the 13 chest exercises. I was looking at it from a vanity point because someone called me skinny.
Yeah.
Of course, don't call any man skinny.
Yeah.
Say lean.
Yeah.
And I think going from that aspect has completely changed my training. It's not my focus anymore is to, I got to get to the gym. And, you find out less is more. And that's definitely something I learned from Dave is, from when I was training 6 days a week doing, your bro splits to now possibly training 3 times a week, maybe 4 if I want. But to see more strength gains, to see more results by doing less, yeah, it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, can we talk about that as far as like identity shift? Because that has to be an identity shift for you to go from 6 days a week to now doing 4. Like, what do you have to say to yourself to make it okay?
For me was, just delving into it and seeing it through. And when I started to notice those results, it's almost like this revelation that you have, this mind-blowing experience. And you got to try to get out of your old ways and habits. And again, you got to look deep within and ask yourself, what am I really doing this for? Is this just for looks? Am I trying to impress somebody? Or am I just doing this just to be healthy? And I think once you kind of structure and figure that out, you'll eventually find your answer.
Yeah, we say this all the time where when someone comes to us like, listen, what you were doing before got you here. So for you to move forward, we have to do a lot of changing of habits, right? We have to look at things differently because we're not just going to fix your problem and then send you out and have you do the same thing. You'll be back here again.
Right.
We pride ourselves in being more of an educator rather than just being a physical therapist, because our job is to help you solve your pain problem, but also educate you at the same time. So that way you have the tool and the knowledge that you can empower yourself with. It's like, all right, I know what this is like. I know what I've been through. All I have to do is do X, Y, and Z, and now the problem will be taken care of themselves.
Right. And that's another shift that you see in physical therapy is a lot are also using, training as a form of their therapy versus, back in the day, it just used to be your, 3 sets of 10 on here and there. And, now you're really starting to see the shift and starting to see physical therapists that also have a background in personal training. And I think that's the best combination that you can get.
Yeah.
That is your best trainer and PT put together.
Yeah. The way I see it is that when my job is done with a patient with physical therapy, they should be able to continue with a trainer with literally no lag.
Right.
It should be a smooth transition.
Correct. That's something that my cousin Arnold did with Excel. He created what was called Performex, and that was post-rehabilitation after you were done with your PT, and that tailored into training afterwards. And of course, you still worked hand in hand with your physical therapist, but that was another eye-opener that I saw that he created at that point. And that really helped me, understand, how to really train the body and make sure that it stays healthy for longevity. Most people want to train in for the now, for the body I want now versus the body and how you want to feel in your older age. That's another thing that I respect about the gym is most of the people there. This is why I look the biggest at the gym. Most of them are in their 50s, 60s. And to see that, it's incredible. Like they've been doing it so much longer than I have. And, I admire that. I want to be healthy like that in my 50s and 60s, God willing. And, that's a motivating factor for me.
Yeah.
Is I want longevity. I still want to function and move when I'm 80, 90, if so.
Yeah. I always dream to still go to the gym till literally my last day.
Right.
I just think there's something satisfying about just going to the gym, right? As we're driving down into this, right? Let's say someone comes up to you like, Mike, I'm ready to hire someone. What should I look for in a personal trainer?
For one, their experience, their knowledge, of course. Everyone more so always looks for personality because you want to connect with somebody, but I think you really got to research and pay attention to the results that they're able to get from someone and their clients. And that's something that I noticed with Dave. When I started back at the gym, I noticed over time that all of his clients their bodies were changing, their numbers were going up on their programs, and I'm like, hey man, I want some of that. And that's what, again, I don't know everything, so I really wanted to delve into his knowledge and how he gets these results, and now I see why. I think that's an important factor.
Yeah, so experience, anything else?
Experience, of course, their knowledge. There's so much that goes into it. Of course, personality helps. That's what creates retention. And I think for me, primarily the results that they get.
So we get a lot of this too, especially in physical therapy, is that people likes to go to the place where it's convenient, right? And my argument was like, dude, people drive an hour to get food. I was like, why don't you drive an hour when it comes to your health and when it comes to your well-being, right? Like now we have people who drive over an hour to come see us, whether it's twice a week or 3 times a week. I would argue the same thing, especially when I used to compete in weightlifting. I would drive almost an hour and 15 minutes to go train with the guy who's an Olympian,
Right.
Because that's important to me. And I think you got to go chase after the result that you want by hiring the right person, and you have to commit into the time.
Amen.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I remember when I first started off, I lived in Englewood, and I was traveling to Saddlebrook. And I remember the days during the winter, dude, it would take me like an hour and a half just to get to the gym. But as soon as I got there, I felt so much better. There was no way that I was going to miss my workout no matter what. And, a lot of people will ask you, like, don't you do anything else? Don't you have any other hobbies? Like, I love what I do. I'd rather go to the gym versus going out to a club, getting drunk. And it's funny, you go to the club, you buy all these drinks, and at the end of the day, what are you drinking? You're drinking water. It's what you should have been doing at the beginning anyway.
I don't even drink anymore, man. I order drinks to then drink. I have like a 3-to-1 water to drink ratio. I'm just peeing all the time. I was like, so like now I literally just go and I just order like club soda.
Yep.
With like lime. No one
Same,
can tell.
yeah, it looks the same.
Yeah.
As long as you get the straw, you need the straw.
That's it. We just came back from Florida, and this lady literally gave me like a sippy cup. I'm like, dude, at least make it look legit. Just literally trying to like embarrass me.
She knew you were a beginner.
Yeah. I was like, no, I'm not. I gotta get sleep. Sleep is more important to me now. Then I mean, like working out and sleep. If I get good night's sleep, the next day I'm gonna crush my workout.
What do you average a day?
I would say like 6.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could function off of that? Like that's your optimal?
I mean, on the weekend I sleep in. Like during the like Monday to Friday, I'll get up at like 6 o'clock just because I'm ready to go.
Right.
Like I always have this in my head, like during the week, like I'm just ready to slay dragons, man. That's just me. On the weekend, like, all right, I'll sleep in. I slay enough dragons during the week. Let me just sleep in. I earned it.
Have you always kept like a Monday through Friday work regimen and then Saturday, Sunday off?
No, I'm pretty flexible. Honestly, what I find for myself, especially for to stay pretty much like pretty calm, is like I like to move.
Right.
So on the day that I'm not lifting, I just go and do some zone 2. I'll go walk with my wife. I just need to move each day. And to me, it's actually make me a better person.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what would you say you do different now than you did before that's made a difference?
The biggest mindset shift I had to do was going from training to working out. So when I used to train, I would just beat my body up for like 3 hours. And the hardest part was I'm so used to that intensity that if I don't have the time to work out or to train, I just won't do it. And it was an all or nothing kind of approach. So now I get to work out and I get to enjoy it. I get to have fun. And I don't get to feel like crap.
Right.
So like after I finish working out, I was like, oh, I feel great. My shoulder feels good. Before it's like, oh my God, my knees, everything hurts. This sucks. Like I gotta like hop in an ice bath afterwards. Now I'm really enjoying. I'm looking forward to it. It's literally like therapy.
Yeah.
And like twice a week, I work out with my best friend from high school, and we'll get together, we'll talk, we'll live together, and it's just like really cool. Like I get to put like on the day I worked out by myself, podcast in, ready to go, some Bad Bunny, like I'm like just in my zone, and then afterwards like great, day's good. Now I can go take on like my work life. Like I always like to. Now the shift was I used to work out in the middle afternoon. First thing in the morning, I'd rather go to the gym. Let me take care of me first. Let me meditate. Let me read the Bible. Let me walk. And now, like, whatever happened the rest of the day, I'm all good.
Right. I remember when, the first time I saw you was a couple of years ago at the gym. Mm-hmm. And I remember just seeing you and Matt Peters just going balls to the walls, man, going nuts on these exercises.
Yeah.
And all you would hear is just screaming from the background. I'm like, man, I like those guys. I need to know who he is. And Matt's awesome, man. How long have you known Matt?
Dude, I know Matt for a long time, probably 2010.
How'd you meet him?
Through CrossFit. My buddy Drew.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, he used to go to Ray Trade's gym. So I would go and drop in, train, and then we just kind of got connected there.
Have you spoken to him lately?
I haven't talked to him in a while. But, I know Jenny's birthday was yesterday, so... Yeah, I got to reach out to him.
Yeah, he's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from him when he was at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good dude. Knows his stuff too.
Yeah, I think like the circle we run with, I think is huge.
Yeah.
I always tell like the kids, all like high school kids that we work with, like doing like the people you surround yourself with, worth so much more, like than what you think they're worth. If you don't think they're worth that much, then you need to really upgrade your circle.
Right. Do you find it a hard time to get the kids to actually do something, or?
Depends, right? If I can get them to their why, and I can link what we're doing and the purpose, the intention behind it, and I can link it to a long-term goal that relatable to them, then they do it. But if I can't do that, then I can't get them to do anything.
Right.
And then that's when we have a conversation of like, maybe you're not a right fit for us, right? And because we don't want to waste anyone's time. But I think what I love about my job right now is that I get to be able to help someone at that like transition point, like they're so young, or even the active adult that we work with, they're also at a transition point where they're getting older, they're seeing their parents getting older, they don't want to head down that route. So like they're like, I need to pivot.
Right.
So I think like we get to work with like the younger version that's about to pivot, go to college, and the older version, right? They kind of hit like a second puberty in a way.
Yeah. Do you find it more difficult to train either version, either one?
Both group come with different challenges, right? And it's always have to do with how we communicate. Right. So I always like to meet people where they are. So from there I was like, hey, just figure out, tell me what you want, tell me everything about you, and then from there we'll just kind of like build a little bridge together, see, okay, based on what you're telling me, this didn't work, you want to do this, all right, do you mind we test this out? Right. It's just I look at it as dating.
Right.
You're just trying to get to know one another and build a really good foundation. Right. And all I'm trying to do is get a quick win for them so that way they trust me more. And the more win I can get them, now we can chase those wins together. Right? Or if we do have setback, because we have so many wins stack up, the setback doesn't seem so bad.
Right. And you need a setback for a comeback.
Exactly.
And I think it's huge to what you mentioned, to where the integrity of telling someone like, hey, maybe I'm not the right fit for you, that, you know, this just isn't right for you, that you need to search somewhere else. I think that's huge. I remember having somebody that came to me, he was like, hey, I'm ready to train. I want to do like 3-4 times a week. And I remember looking at him, I'm just like, you're not ready. Mm-hmm. Like, do me a favor, go lose like 15, 20 pounds, and then in about a month or so, come back to me. This guy came back 25 to 30 pounds down.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, okay, now you're ready.
Yeah.
And that was huge for me to tell him, he needed to hear that no. And I think that's something else that you also have to read about somebody, whether they're there to do it. Because, although the money's good, I'm not here primarily for the money. Mm-hmm. I have a passion and love for what I do, and I genuinely want to help you. And especially when you could see someone's 100% effort of, if they put that 100% in, the results that they'll get, and just, you want it more than they do. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that can get a little frustrating. Yeah.
And I love that, man. And we say it all the time that like, yes, we have to do, we charge appropriately because it's a business. We got to stay profitable so that way we can expand, we can help more people, right? But at the end of the day, this is what I live and breathe by, right? This is my passion. And what I value more is that I want people in the right fit because I'm giving up my time for that. And money's everywhere. I can make money doing whatever, but I can't have that time back. So I want to make sure the hour I spend with a patient of mine is a great hour where I get the best energy from them and they get the best energy from me. Now I can go home 10 o'clock at night knowing how hard the day was and say, that was a great day. That was a meaningful day. I get to change some lives, and hopefully they feel the same way about the energy I gave to them.
Right. You ever have those days to where you question, like, what am I doing this for? Or
Dude, well, all the time. I mean, I had many of those days. That's why I started my own business. Because if I didn't have those days, I would be so, I would be so comfortable that I wouldn't want to start something new. Like I started my clinic because there was a need for it. Back then, you've been to Excel. Back then, people used to see 2 or 3 patients an hour, maybe 4. Right. And that was the model that I grew up in as a PT. And I questioned it so much, like, why did it work in personal training, but it doesn't work in physical therapy? And I kept questioning it. I looked around. No one was doing one-on-one. And I was like, I know I can get so much one-on-one someone to pay one-on-one and get better result. Why aren't people paying for it?
Right.
People weren't doing it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'll do it the same way that I used to do when I was in PT school, training people, but also help them overcome some pain point as well. And because of that, because of those hard days, for a year and a half, I ended up with this.
Right.
So I'm super thankful for those days.
Right. And, complacency is the vacation land of fools.
Yeah.
And you push yourself out of that barrier. That's amazing.
Yeah. No, man, I'm super thankful for that. So before I let you go, we have a lot of students that listen to this podcast as well. Again, I advise them to really look into being a fitness professional, right? What are some tips you can give them, especially if you can go back to a 16-year-old version of you, right? If you can be the cousin to your younger self, right?
Right.
What would you tell them to do, especially with the technology, the knowledge, and everything that's available to them today?
Definitely go and get your cert. I think it's an amazing opportunity for anybody, especially if it's just for yourself to learn some knowledge. Do your research on different formats of training, between strength and conditioning, your NASM, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The NASM will pretty much kind of get your foot through the door in any gym, but also continued education. Just don't stop with, all right, I passed my course and then I'm done. I know everything. No, you don't. Continue to learn and progress and never stop learning. I think that's a huge thing. That's one thing that I continuously sought for, was people that were better than me and always wanting to learn more. So that way I can take what I know and share it with someone else. Because, for me, it'd be a sin not to share my knowledge with somebody else.
Yeah. We're only here for a short period of time.
Right. And don't take the easy route out. What you're seeing a lot today is, the steroids and the TRT and all that stuff, and especially in bodybuilding, which is huge. And I love the saying, you can't call it a blessing if you had to sin to get it. And that right there is a huge statement, no matter what you decide to look at, whether it's in fitness, in your life, or anything that you want to progress towards. Do it the right way, do it the righteous way, and just take the time. Use the ability and the gifts that God gave you and expand on that. And if you go 100% effort into it, you're not going to run into a wall. And if you do, knock it down or build a new one.
Yeah. Sometimes your best is not good enough.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
And we have one of our core values here is do the right thing, not the easy thing. And I think to go back to what you alluded to earlier is that not a lot of people are doing the right thing. It's because they have so many easy options.
Right.
And most people would rather hit the easy option rather than the right option, because the right thing takes time, takes effort, takes a lot of patience.
Right. We're in the fast lane today of everything on social media. It's, the cool new move or trick that you see everywhere. When you look at people that have the best bodies in the world, it's boring to watch. It's the same exercises, but of course you do different rep schemes to increase your progression, but it's mundane and boring. All the stuff that you see today is, mainly for just clout and for more likes. And it's a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of fluff.
Yeah.
And you have to see through it.
I also think that if you're a student listening to this, is as you learn about anatomy, physiology, and you're getting your cert, apply it to yourself. And like anything that we do here at Myokinetix, we test it on each other first.
Right.
Like, because I want to know how's this is gonna suck, so I can then relate it again. That's meeting people where they are. Like, hey, so we do blood flow restriction. I know. Have you done it?
Like the occlusion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that years ago. Sucks.
Yeah. So we did it, right? And I remember I got it and I put on both legs, hop on a bike for 10 minutes just to know what it's like. And then on Monday, I was like, hey, I'm going to put one of these on you to ride on the bike for 10 minutes. I'm telling you right now, it sucks. I was like, I did with both legs. And I showed them. I was like, just to let you know, I tried this, so I know how it feels, right? So that way it gave me some sort of credibility. So I think to use yourself, and there's no better experience than like a self experience, because you went through it and people can see that you're genuine in your approach.
Right. That's one thing, and I agree to that. That's one thing that I always did is, through every fad of a diet, whether it's keto, primal, micros, macros, whatever it might be, I put myself through it first. That way I can get the hands-on experience, and that way you're able to delegate that to your clients in you know what you're talking about because you went through it yourself.
Yeah.
And again, it's those little pinpoints of experience that you won't get just by reading a book. It's the feelings that you experience, the thought process you go through. And again, anything that you decide to try, see it through. If it doesn't work, assess it, move on to something else. Try to figure out the why. And that's the most important thing, is that why.
Yeah. I think it's great, man. Listen, bro, I really appreciate your time coming here, sitting
thank you so
here,
much,
talk
man.
to me. Before I let you go, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. IG handle is Mike_Feeks. I'm also on Facebook, IFBB Pro Mike Feeks, and or you can find me at the gym.
Yeah.
Or if not at the gym, come reach out to me, DM me. I do anything from Zoom, in-homes, online programming. And if you can't get in touch with me, or if you can't get with me, I'm more than happy to bring you to somebody else that I trust.
Perfect. Awesome, dude. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
bro.
man,
It was
such a
great.
blessing, dude.
Yeah.
It's amazing.